When dealing with 10 to 20 rows of data, finding data is easy. You can simply eyeball it. When dealing with thousands of rows of data, finding data manually becomes an impossible task. This is where Excel's Find functionality comes in extremely handy. In this next section, you'll discover some of the techniques around finding and replacing data. Let's start by selecting the Finding and Replacing Data tab in this particular workbook, working with data in Excel. So I have this data set here, and I've got lots of data in here, and let's say that I want to find the Kansas City market. Now, I could scroll down until I see the Kansas City market. Well, that's not very effective. This is where Excel's Find functionality comes in. What I'm going to do is click on the Home tab, select Find and Select, click the Find Command button, and the Find and Replace dialog box will pop up. It's going to ask me, what do you want me to find? Well, I want to find the Kansas City market. So do I type in Kansas City market in there? No. What I'll do is type in Kansas. Why just Kansas? Excel's Find functionality allows you to put in portions of words, and then it'll fill in the rest. So what I'll do here is just type in Kansas. And I'm going to select Find Next. So as you can see, Excel takes me to the first cell that matches my search criteria, Kansas City, and that happens to be row 606. So what happens if I click Find All? Well, if I click Find All, what the dialog box does is list out every instance of that particular search term it finds. So if I expand out this dialog box and expand out this row here, you can see that it lists the workbook it finds it in, the sheet, any name, which is a named range, which we haven't covered yet, but we will in this particular series, a cell, the cell that the search term was found in, and the value that was found. If I click on any one of these values, Excel will take me to that row. So as you can see, I just clicked on cell 619, and now the active cell is in 619. I'll click on cell 623, and that's where the active cell moved to, row 623. Okay, just close that out using the Escape button here, and I'm going to go ahead and do something else. Let's go ahead and talk about some of the options that you have when you perform a find function. I'm going to go ahead and select Find and Select again. Click the Find command. And as you can see, Excel keeps track of the last thing I was trying to find. And what I can do here is go to Options, and you see a series of options here. The first option you see is the Within option. This tells Excel that I want to search within either a sheet or the entire workbook. Typically, you're going to search within the sheet. The second option here, the Search option, allows you to define whether you want to search by rows or by columns. And the differences between these two are a bit ambiguous and vague, and typically you wouldn't change this particular option, you would keep it by rows. The third option here, the Look In option, allows you to determine where to look for the data. Do you want Excel to look in formulas, values, or comments? And in a minute, I'll show you what these three do. Another option is called Match Case. This basically says that you want to do a case-sensitive search, basically performing a search taking into account whether the letters in that particular search are uppercase or lowercase. And then finally, Match Entire Cell Contents. This is particularly useful when you want to do an exact match on your search term. So let's go through a few examples of how your search can be affected by the Look In option, the Match Case option, and the Match Entire Cell Contents option. So the first option we want to test out is the Look In option. So let's go to the top of our screen by clicking Control Home. That's a hotkey that we just learned. Control Home. So I'm going to insert a new worksheet here, just as a test environment. And then here in this column, I'm just going to type in a couple of formulas. Now, I realize that we haven't covered formulas yet, but just bear with me for this example. And simply, I'll just type in equals 10 plus 2. Okay, I have the number 12 there. And I'm just going to go ahead and copy that down so I have lots of number 12s here. So in this particular spreadsheet, I've got a column of data that has nothing but 12s. So I'll go up to the Find and Select command, click Find, and in the Find and Replace dialog box, I'll type in the number 12. So when I hit Find Next, I should be able to get some sort of result back. Okay, so what do I get? I get a message box saying Microsoft Office Excel cannot find the data that you're searching for. All right, why? Well, I've got 12 showing here. It should be able to find 12s, but it doesn't. The reason is this. The look in option is set to formulas. So what that does, it basically says look in the actual contents of the cell. So remember we talked about the formula bar and how it shows the actual contents. If I close this out for a second and click on one of these cells, the value here is showing as 12, but the actual contents of the cell is not 12, it's actually 10 plus 2. So none of these will match my particular criteria. In order to find the value 12, I'll need to select values in the look-in option. So let me go ahead and do that. Click Find and Select. Click Find. Find what? I want to find the number 12, but this time I want to look in values. So what that does is it allows me to say, forget what's in the formula bar or forget what are the real contents of this particular data. What I want is the value that's displayed, the resulting values. I'll click Find Next, and as you can see, now I'm finding things. Find all, and it finds all of them. Okay, close that out. Now, it's important to keep in mind the Look in Formulas option because you're going to have situations where you're going to be looking for data in tables, and some of that data will be formulas and others will not be. And so what you'll want to do is sit back and decide whether you want to look in formulas or look in values. Remember that a cell has actual content and it's got a value that's displayed. If you have formulas in your tables and the values that you're looking for are results of those formulas, you'll want to select Look in Values. Now some of you may have noticed a third option in the Look in options. If I select Find again, and I'll select the Look in option, and you'll see an option here called Comments. Now this particular option states that your search will be applied exclusively to comments. Now we haven't covered comments yet, but essentially comments are objects that you can tag to a cell that pop up when you hover over a cell, and those objects contain some text. And this particular search option says search those texts or search those comments for certain text that I have here in my search criteria. Close this out.